Kolbe remains overseas, starring in Japan's top league, but the Springboks selectors are watching closely. Every move, every training session, every game raises the stakes. Rassie Erasmus knows the value of Colby, but he also knows the risk. This isn't a player measured in meters gained or tackles made. Colby is a game changer. A match definer, a man whose absence or presence can shift the Springboks strategy overnight. Yet, with every brilliant moment comes the shadow of doubt. Can his body endure another World Cup campaign? Can he reclaim his place among the elite in a team that now prides itself on depth and consistency? The story isn't just about Kolbe's skill, it's about timing choices and the fine line between genius and decline. Will he remain the unpredictable weapon the Springboks need? Or is his peak behind him? Fans argue, analysts debate, and the world waits to see whether this magician can still perform when the pressure is highest. In this video, we dive deep into Kolbe's journey, his legacy, and the question that could define South African rugby for years to come. Is Cheslin Kolbe still the world-beating star who can carry the Springboks to glory, or is the curtain slowly falling on one of rugby's most electrifying careers? Kolbe is coming home. Rassie Erasmus knows exactly what he has in Kolbe. This isn't a player you measure in meters gained or tackles made. Colby is a difference maker, the guy who wins you knockout matches with a single piece of chaos. But the brutal question that no one wants to ask out loud is whether South Africa can still count on him to deliver that magic consistently. Since 2019, Kolbe's career has been a tug-of-war between brilliance and breakdown. For every try against the All Blacks, there's been another trip to the physio's table, and the Springboks, who now build their entire identity on ruthless depth, can no longer afford passengers. Here's where the story gets even sharper. South Africa are already overloaded with back three weapons. Kurt Lierens has been untouchable. Canan Moodie looks like a generational talent, and Damian Willems can play everywhere. If Rassie were a cold, calculating coach, and let's be honest, he often is, would Colby even make the cut on form and fitness alone? Or is he being kept around as a World Cup specialist? A man for the biggest nights when the pressure cooks. That's the gamble, and Colby knows it. By returning to South Africa, Colby will be living and training closer to the Bok environment, under the microscope of Rassie and his lieutenants. He won't just be judged on his reputation, he'll be tested week after week against the same players competing for his spot. That's pressure like never before. If he flourishes, it could be the rebirth of the Cheslin Kolbe era, a man reborn to lead South Africa into another World Cup run. If he struggles, it might quietly be the beginning of the end, the passing of the torch to Moodie and Arendse. And then there's the injury cloud. Just recently, Kolbe limped off again, and while the headlines softened it, as precautionary, fans and coaches alike must be asking the hard question, can his body hold up? Because Kolbe isn't built like Ebenezabeth. He's 1.71 meters of lightning wrapped in fragile muscle. His speed and agility come at a cost, and South Africa have seen too many stars fade under that weight. For a player like Colby, one more serious injury could be career-defining. What makes the story even bigger is the Rassie Erasmus factor. Rassie doesn't just pick players, he crafts narratives. He turns players into weapons, reshapes them into psychological threats for opponents. With Kolbe, the narrative writes itself, the wounded magician underestimated, written off by rival fans, then unleashed when it matters most. The question isn't whether Colby still has magic in his boots. The question is whether Rassie is willing to bet South Africa's World Cup chances on a player whose availability is always in doubt. Growing up, he idolized Brian Habana, another speedster who defied convention and even shared a family link, as Habana is Kolbe's cousin. But Kolbe's road wasn't paved by connections. He had to fight for every call-up, every squad spot, every contract offer. Unlike some of South Africa's physically dominant teenagers, Kolbe had no shortcut through brute force. He built his game on timing, anticipation, and daring. Attributes that later made him unplayable against defenders twice his size. At youth level, Colby wasn't the obvious star. There were doubts about whether he could even handle the collisions of professional rugby. But something shifted when he entered the Western Province system. Surrounded by bigger, heavier players, Colby realized his best chance wasn't to try to be them. It was to double down on being himself. His acceleration over 5 meters, his ability to change direction without losing pace, and his knack for spotting space turned him from an afterthought into a weapon. Role as the Springbok difference maker. Kolbe's body has been tested repeatedly over the past 4 years. Injuries, some minor but others severe, have interrupted seasons. Springbok backline brimming with talent. Kurt Learns, Damian Willemses, and Canan Moodie represent a formidable pool of players, each capable of winning games on their own. Rassie Erasmus has always been pragmatic, often ruthless when it comes to selection. He doesn't play favorites, and he doesn't hide from difficult decisions. Will the magician, whose signature moves electrified World Cups, still hold the same threat against modern, faster and physically dominant defenses? Or will injuries and age force the Springboks to consider a future without him as a core weapon? Off the field, Kolbe faces subtle but relentless pressure. Sometimes by teammates, sometimes by journalists, and often by rivals who will exploit any weakness. For a player whose style relies on agility and quick decision-making, any dip in physical capability could have outsized consequences. And yet, Kolbe brings something that statistics can't measure: the intangible spark. He has the rare ability to read defenses, manipulate defenders, and create openings where none seem to exist. It's a skill forged over years of high-pressure international rugby, refined under coaches who knew when to restrain him and when to let him run free. Kolbe isn't just a back three player, he's a chess piece with the power to rewrite outcomes in an instant. The Springbok setup is entering a critical phase. Squad cohesion, tactical execution, and World Cup preparation are all on tight deadlines. Kolbe's integration isn't just about skill, it's about blending into a complex system where the margin for error is tiny. Fans naturally hope for the best, imagining the return of the unstoppable Colby who dominated headlines in Japan. But the real story lies in the tension between potential brilliance and the real-world constraints of form, fitness, and team dynamics. The Springbok backline has never been richer in talent, and Kolbe is walking into an environment where every training session doubles as an audition. Kurt Learns has cemented himself as a lethal finishing threat, with speed and timing that mirrors Kolbe's own style. Damian Willemses offers versatility and game management, while Canan Moodie, the teenage sensation, represents the future, a player with raw pace, intuition, and fearless decision-making. For Kolbe, the competition is no longer just about replicating old magic. It's about earning his place day after day. Form and fitness over reputation, strategy over sentiment. Kolbe's name carries weight, but in Rassie's system, past brilliance doesn't guarantee current opportunities. Each training session is meticulously analyzed, from defensive alignment to timing and attack. Kolbe must not only display his trademark flair, but also integrate seamlessly with the tactical blueprint. Any misstep, hesitation, or hint of vulnerability can be a signal for a younger player to claim the jersey. Yet the internal competition ensures there is no room for complacency. Every sprint, every pass, every tactical decision is scrutinized, not for criticism alone, but to determine whether Colby is prepared to shoulder responsibility on the world stage once more. South African fans are acutely aware of what Kolbe brings when fully fit: the ability to change a game's trajectory in moments, but for every highlight there's a shadow of doubt. Injuries have taught the Springboks a harsh lesson: talent alone cannot carry a team to glory. Physical resilience, tactical awareness, and consistency are now as important as raw skill. Kolbe's challenge isn't merely to dazzle but to endure, to deliver game after game against world-class opposition, and to do so while mentoring younger stars eager to make their mark. This backline gauntlet isn't just about individual competition. It's a story of leadership and legacy. Kolbe, if he succeeds, can bridge generations, passing knowledge, intuition, and the nuances of elite rugby to emerging talents like Moodie. Yet the same environment tests whether he can maintain his peak under relentless pressure. Rassie's coaching style ensures that the best players aren't merely evaluated on raw impact, but on how they lift the collective team. Kolbe must navigate this duality, shine personally while elevating the squad, or risk being sidelined despite his talent. The strategic implications are profound. The Springbok team's identity is being continuously shaped around depth and adaptability, but only if he is consistently available and performing. His presence forces coaches to weigh risk versus reward. When does he play? When is he rested? And how do his unique skills complement the other back three options? Kolbe must now integrate recovery routines with performance, balancing explosive displays of skill against the risk of another setback. The challenge is to remain reliable enough to earn the trust of a coach who will not compromise. Injuries aren't just numbers on a report, they influence confidence and selection. Opponents and teammates alike watch how a returning star manages load, navigates fatigue, and adapts to high-stakes competition. For Kolbe, each training session is a dual challenge, proving he is fit to play and proving he can withstand the pressure of doing it repeatedly without interruption. Rassie, in particular, monitors this closely. His strategies demand not only talent, but dependable availability. The psychological toll of recurring injuries cannot be understated. Colby has learned to temper ambition with caution, weighing when to push, when to hold back, and how to remain fully engaged despite limitations. The difference between brilliance and absence is often measured in subtle choices. A cut, a jump, a tackle, executed incorrectly can mean weeks off the pitch. For a player whose career has been defined by agility and instinct, the margin for error is narrow. Beyond the personal impact, Kolbe's injuries reverberate across the squad. Springbok management must plan around his availability while the backline must adapt to shifting personnel. Depth becomes critical, and rising stars like Moody and Arendse must be ready to step into pivotal roles without disrupting the team's cohesion. Kolbe's challenge is therefore both individual and communal: to manage his body, maintain performance, and continue contributing meaningfully to a team that relies on seamless execution. Physical resilience, however, is just part of the narrative. Kolbe's return is a story of calculated risk, weighing the value of a proven world-class talent against the fragility that comes with a high-impact career. The stakes are magnified by the World Cup horizon, where every selection decision carries consequences beyond a single match. South Africa's preparation now includes contingency plans, monitoring metrics, and strategic rotations, all designed to maximize Kolbe's brilliance while minimizing the likelihood of absence. This phase of his career is therefore as much about judgment as it is about skill. Colby must navigate his physical limits, team expectations, and personal ambitions simultaneously. Every step, every sprint, every decision contributes to a broader question. Can he remain the difference maker he has always been, without succumbing to the vulnerabilities that have shadowed him?